Welcome back to the Wild Files. Most MSPs see candidate dropouts as frustrating. Today, we're talking about why they're actually expensive and how the cost shows up long after the candidate has gone quiet. Because, well, here's the thing. When a candidate pulls out late in the process, most leaders think about inconvenience, wasted time, the annoyance, and the awkward call to the team. What they do not always see is the financial ripple effect, the delayed projects, the overstretched engineers, the revenue that never quite materialises, the quiet pressure building in the background. So today I'm joined by Daniel Welling of the MSP finance team, and we're going to get properly into it. No fluffy recruitment chat, no generic hiring advice. We're talking pounds and pence. So P&L impact, cash flow strain, and the uncomfortable truth about what candidate indecision, slow approvals, and wobbly processes actually cost an MSP. So let's get into it. But first, Daniel, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming. Please introduce yourself and tell the listeners a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks, Jane. Well, for those of you that don't already know me, I am a former MSP owner. Well, I'm not sure how long I can actually say that for, because this year is 12 years since my first exit, and then I had a spell with the acquirer, and then exited them, and over the last 12 years, I've had some fantastic experiences, I have to say, that have allowed me to stay connected in the MSP marketplace and not have to carry the P&L of an MSP on my shoulders. So yeah, very, very fortunate to have enjoyed a fabulous 12 years as an MSP, and now a fabulous 12 years not as an MSP, but still involved.
Excellent, brilliant stuff. So Daniel, I want you to imagine this. Say this is your MSP and it has a role approved and a start date agreed and revenue plans built around it. What financially unravels when that hire, never turns up?
I mean, you've already mentioned them in your opening, to be fair, but I always like to think of a couple of analogies for you to help picture really. First of all, I describe the MSP business model as a zip and doing up a zip. So if you imagine, imagine we've got resource on one side and we've got revenue on the other, and in a perfect world, the cogs of our zip, the teeth of our zip, go together like that, and you can do up a zip really slowly.
Yeah.
Or you can whip it up and whip it up. That's often when the zip is don't go together, and it looks like you've misbuttoned your top basically. So that's analogy number one.
Okay.
And analogy number two is if we were a greengrocers, not an MSP, we have a shelf full of broccoli and Brussels sprouts and tomatoes and fruit and what have you. If it's not there on the shelf, you can't sell it.
True.
So the person that walks into your shop wanting a nice tub of strawberries, if you don't have strawberries, they're going to walk out the shop and go somewhere else. True. So that they're the fundamental analogies I like to think of around recruitment and around getting that timing right. That you don't want stock on the shelf that isn't going to get sold and is going to go off.
Yeah.
And equally, you don't want to run too fast or too slow to join in resource and client together. So yeah, I mean, if we take the revenue range, say, per head, I would say anything between 80,000 and 150,000 a head. So if you don't have that person available, you're going to miss out on that revenue. And it's quite a range based on what the MSP sells and what the mix of income they have. But yeah, you're going to lose that amount of time in terms of income, and of course. Somewhere within that, there's a profit margin, so you're definitely going to lose that profit margin.
So ouchie, basically.
Ouchie, yes.
for a technical term.
Yeah.
Daniel, for a technical term. I do like the zip analogy and the greengrocers. That's a really good way of painting it so that it's understandable, because sometimes finance can be just confusing. So it's good to picture it that way. So thank you. So at what point does a people problem quietly become a finance problem? And how often do MSPs miss that moment?
To be controversial,
Go on.
perhaps, it's always a finance problem or
Yeah.
opportunity. uh,
Yeah.
Everything the MSP business does, where the rubber touches the road, is financially. We're measured by the profit that we make, our balance sheet. So everything ends up coming back to that point. So
Mm,
uh, either hiring someone that you don't have sufficient work for
mhm.
is gonna impact, because you're definitely paying their salary. um,
Yep.
and it's the same issue the other way round,
Mm,
where you have revenue that you could bill, uh,
yeah.
and you don't have the people to do it. So
Mhm.
uh, sometimes you'll be able to manipulate your pipeline or the timing of the delivery to, well, we can't do it this month, we can do it next
Yeah.
month.
Yeah.
And uh, uh, people will describe different tolerances around that.
Mm,
So if you can turn a project around in literally a week, I would
mm.
say probably overstaffed. Um,
Yeah.
if you're struggling to schedule work in, say, 6 to 8 weeks ahead, I'd say you're definitely understaffed. So maybe
Yeah.
the sweet spot to be aiming at is, an order book of 4 weeks, four
Mm,
weeks. So if you were then having that as a number, perhaps you measure, as soon as you're going over that 20 working days worth
yeah.
of won but not delivered work, then we need to be hiring,
Mm,
basically.
yeah.
If we're happy that there's sufficient pipeline as well,
Exactly.
yeah,
And so how
absolutely.
far ahead do you wanna look at
Yeah.
that? Because that's a pipeline is never guaranteed.
Mhm.
Projects that are booked in are obviously guaranteed to a certain degree, depending on how it's billed, etc. How do it's that sweet spot again, isn't it? It's almost like a seesaw to try and work out when is the right time to go, right, okay, let's do this. We need to recruit.
And I think, I'm sure I've not answered your question at all, but
It's okay.
um, to go sort of top down, I mean, fundamentally, that's what the attraction of the MSP business model is.
Mm,
We want to create a business with a recurring revenue,
mm,
and for that percentage of revenue to be as high as possible.
yeah,
Again, there's a balance to be struck there. But if your business is entirely project based, it puts a lot of pressure on your forecasting and
mm,
pipeline and planning. Whereas if your business is based around recurring services, so we know there's a certain amount of activity that we do that that will happen, and that
yeah,
we're effectively paid or will be paid for it.
yeah,
It's already won. It's
mhm,
automated in terms of
mhm,
its format. Then that actually means you can start planning your recruitment much
further
further
ahead.
in advance. Um, but of course, there are always unplanned issues around staffing generally. So I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm totally not answering your question now. Going into
Well,
another
it was very
topic.
interesting anyway, Daniel, to be quite frank. So even if we went off on a tangent, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So there's the next one is, how much does candidate indecision or slow internal approval, because that happens a lot, really cost an MSP per week? Not in theory, but in actual pounds and pence, would you say? Very precise question to ask you, Daniel.
Yeah, really. Again, I don't want to not answer your question.
But
But, uh,
love
um,
it.
I think there's two ways to look at it. The
Yeah,
the first way, and I'm sure you would agree with this, that good candidates, they don't hang about.
correct.
They will pop up on the market.
Hmm.
They're going to be snapped up pretty quickly. Actually, the first cost of not being swift in the assessment and
Mm,
decision making process will be that you miss that candidate, and you're then
absolutely.
waiting for the next one, um, which you might refer to as opportunity cost. Hard cost would be the actual time you spend. So
Hmm.
if you spend 5 minutes assessing a candidate, then that's probably not enough, but it's really efficient from an internal time cost.
True.
Um, but the chances are you may well not sufficiently and thoroughly assess a candidate for their suitability. So again, there's a balance to be struck there.
Mm,
But yeah, certainly anything that's elongated, that doesn't give a smooth track for both the candidate and the MSP, and
mm.
again, doing up that zip
Yeah,
analogy,
yeah,
um, is gonna have a cost. The exact cost of that, you know, really
yeah.
difficult to say, but there's definitely a cost to over or under investing in the pace of the
Mm.
assessment.
Yeah, it's interesting you say, when you miss that candidate through being, slower or processes being more clunky, and it's that opportunity, but you're also missing out on that skill and that experience of that person that could really create a difference for you. So, yeah, I do love that zip analogy. I'm going to steal that. Everyone will hear me talk about zips now. They'll be like, that's Daniel Welling's, Jane. I'll be like, oh, maybe.
I'm sure I stole it from someone else. So.
Brilliant stuff. Well, it's a good one. It's a good one. I love it. So, in your view, what is more expensive for an MSP, hiring the wrong person or losing the right one late in the process, and why?
I think only one of those scenarios can ever actually be proven.
True.
Um, so the one that got away that you didn't benefit from, it's absolutely all predicted benefit.
Hmm.
Whereas the wrong person, there's
Mm.
definitely hard costs there in
Yeah.
terms of they were inefficient, or they took additional management time.
Mm.
They As a result, they just didn't bill. They weren't a billable resource to a
Yeah.
sufficient level of sustainability, and therefore there's an absolute cost that can be measured. So and I think that probably dovetails in with the sort of
Mm.
general uh, HR recruitment
Yeah.
guidance of hiring slow and firing fast.
Yeah,
If
that's
I've
it.
got that the right
You
way
did.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
Um,
get rid of those
but
bag eggs quickly. Yeah.
yeah, but for that exact reason, and of course, like you mentioned, bad eggs. So going back to our greengrocer scenario, if you've got some gone off peaches
Yep.
in between the broccoli and the leeks, that does infect all of the other veg on that shelf. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it's really important to put the right people in at the right time. That ultimately is yeah, that's the skill of the MSP business model,
Mm.
and the zip analogy of
Mm.
getting all of the timing and balance right, not paying too much, uh,
Yeah.
uh, paying enough to get
Yeah.
the right caliber of colleague that you need at that
Mm.
time. And yeah, it's not easy.
No.
It's not an easy business
No, it's not.
to get right.
It's an interesting one though, isn't it? I think that's what people love because it's totally like a problem-solving building business in in every single way, down to getting the finance right and the resources right, you know, and of course, obviously, the problems that throw up day to day. So, technically, but yeah, so I love it because it's troubleshooting. I think that's why people love it so much. That's why we're all a little bit mad to work in it.
Exactly. You don't have to be crazy, but it helps, right?
Yeah, exactly that. Absolutely. And if you were the finance lead in an MSP looking at candidate dropouts what line items would suddenly start flashing red?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, really, isn't it? Because at a P&L level, you may not see the granularity.
Mhm.
Uh, I would I would say well, and you wouldn't necessarily see it in terms of a direct cost.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily incur the recruitment um, fee investment. You don't necessarily
Hmm.
get the recruitment investment
Well done.
unless you've been successful in hiring someone.
Yeah.
And so yeah, how would it translate to the P&L?
Mm,
Yeah, I think it's probably just going to be it's not being able to uh, to bill to deliver, and
yeah.
therefore bill the revenue to get the margin for that to drop down to, well, gross and then
Mm,
net profit lines. Um, one of the things that we encourage in the MSP finance team
mm.
business is, and as you'll have known, you sat for a couple of my presentations in the
A few
past.
of them, Daniel. Yeah.
You've got you've got the old management accounts rear view mirror,
Yes.
but really we should have, if we're going to design and execute our
Mm,
business with intent, we should have a budget
yeah.
which aligns to a business plan. So maybe that's where you might start to see um, the P&L impact of not being
Mm,
able to hire. But equally, you'll have the same issue if you've not been able to sell the right volume that you want as well. And again, that would then come down to how far adrift are we from our budget, and
mhm,
then what is the cause of that?
mhm,
If your pipeline is insufficient and you're not winning
mm.
enough revenue, then that's your problem. If
Yeah.
you've got the revenue but you don't have sufficient people, then
Yeah.
it's a recruitment issue at that point in time, and
Mm,
it will fluctuate
yeah.
over time. What the actual cause is, and you'll probably flip flop from one to the
Yeah.
other in reality,
Yeah.
as
No.
they're both difficult topics to tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. And to get that smooth running, that's the dream, isn't it? But we're always like, a little bit like this in business, I think.
Mhm. Ab-
Absolutely.
Absolutely, and then of course, I guess we're talking quite maybe accidentally about the delivery resource, but as we design and plot the progress that we want the MSP to make, we are of course going to start to add leadership
Yeah.
and other roles within the business. And I think you touched on it earlier about if you don't have enough resource in the business, then the resource that is there is going to have to work harder.
Yeah.
And probably the Swiss Army knife MSP owner, atypical, will be
Yeah.
able to smooth over a lot of these holes.
Yeah.
But yeah, they might scrape through it and still deliver the budget number, but at what cost personally to the MSP owner? Of either they're not doing the things that they should be doing, which will be to their detriment ahead of time, or there's a personal impact. They're working an 80-hour week when really they should be working a 30 or 40-hour week,
Absolutely.
subject to their ambition.
Yeah. Indeed. Indeed. Interesting. Excellent. So after everything that we've discussed, if an MSP owner fixed just one part of their hiring process to protect profit, cash flow, and team stability, what should they fix first and why?
What to do first? I, I, it probably it isn't necessarily recruitment as the absolute first thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the absolute first thing has got to be, what do you actually want your business to look like?
Mhm.
So as sophisticated or not as is possible to get an outline budget, that's the first thing to do, because
Mhm.
then that tells you what you're going to need in terms of people and resource,
Yeah.
and then you can work back from that in terms of how you actually uh, recruit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because yeah, otherwise I really want a good third liner, please.
I fancy
And
one of them today.
I imagine you get numerous phone calls about that. Yeah, if you could just get me a third liner that I can kind of deploy and put anywhere. Oh, and only want to pay X.
Yeah.
And when I'm in the office, I mustn't work at home,
That's
and
it. Yeah.
and they've got to live in London, LA, Munich, Paris,
Yeah.
all of those places simultaneously. No problem.
It's so
But yeah,
true.
all joking aside, if you do have a very clear track as to how the business is going to develop. So this month we're gonna deliver 5,000 more in services, whether it's recurring or project, and the following month we're going to do another 3,000. The following month we're going to do another 8,000. Whatever the numbers are, that then allows you to say, well, we're going to need these number of people in the business, and we have a typical rate of attrition to allow for. So these are the hires we're expecting to make this year, this quarter, however far ahead you can look. And once you've done that, that then means that you can go back to the other side of your zip and then look at, well, if we're going to go to market and want to recruit someone and have them start in a week, we're really putting that whole process under pressure.
Yeah.
If we can be working further back from that, but we can be talking to pipeline candidates a quarter, a year, years ahead.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely the best place to get to. I'm going to want to hire a service desk lead in 6 months' time. So let's go out and start looking at potential candidates for that now. So going back to that zip analogy.
Yeah, it is, and it's romancing, the future people for your business. And a pipeline is so important, not just in sales, but in hiring it, and in acquiring people, if you want to call it that, because it really is. It really is. Talent pipeline, that's what I like to call it.
Talent pipeline, yeah. I've heard that somewhere before.
Wonder where that could be. So, Daniel, it's been such an important conversation. Thank you, because what we've really unpacked today, I think, is this. Candidate dropouts are rarely just a people issue. They're also a commercial issue. They affect profit. They affect cash flow. They affect that team morale that we spoke about, and they quietly erode stability if they keep happening. I kind of think that the big takeaway is this. Most MSP owners obsess, and quite rightly, over sales performance and service delivery metrics. Love a metric. But hiring performance deserves the same commercial scrutiny. And I think we've showed that today. Because one slow decision, one poorly managed process, one offer that drifts can cost more than people actually realise. So if you're listening to this and recognising the patterns in your own process, this is not about blame, it's about awareness. So tighten the process, shorten the gaps, make decisions confidently, and protect your profits. So Daniel, thank you for bringing the financial lens to what is usually seen as just recruitment. So tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you.
If you'd like to carry on the conversation, LinkedIn is probably the easiest place to find me. Always happy to make a new connection, and always happy to have a chat. And of course, if not LinkedIn, in real life, we have events planned throughout the year, throughout 2026, and you'll find details of those again on LinkedIn and the website.
They're fabulous events as well, so you definitely don't want to miss out on those. And to everyone listening, if this episode made you slightly uncomfortable, good, because that is where the growth is. So this has been the Wild Files. Stay sharp, stay commercial, and as always, stay wild.